Ta pushed his way through the busy market of New Busan Space Station. The air smelled of spices from 20 different worlds. Beings of all shapes and colors moved around him. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales. Some glowed in the dim light of the lower decks. Fresh fruit from Earth. Taste the real thing. Ta called out. His small stand was new, only 3 weeks old. He sold things from Earth that aliens found interesting. Fruits, handmade crafts, and old music recordings. It wasn't making him rich, but it paid for his tiny room and food. A group of tall, silvery aliens walked by his stand. They had pale skin that seemed to shine and large eyes that caught the light. Ta had learned they were called the Navi. They were beautiful but cold. They never smiled at him or bought anything. One of the Navi pointed at his apples and whispered something to another. They laughed, a sound like small bells, and walked away. "Don't mind them," said Han, the old man who sold strange alien plants at the next stand. "The Navi think they're better than everyone, especially humans." Ta shrugged. "Everyone's money is the same color to me." As the market day ended, Ta packed up his unsold goods. He needed to take them back to his storage unit on the lower deck. The station had 50 levels, and the deeper you went, the cheaper and rougher things got. In the lift going down, a small figure stood in the corner. At first, Tai thought it was a human child. But when the light hit her face, he saw the silvery skin and large eyes of a Navi. She was much smaller than the others he had seen, barely reaching his shoulder. She kept her eyes down. Her worker uniform was stained with grease. A maintenance worker, Ta guessed. The lift stopped at level 40, and they both got out. "Heavy load?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. Her words had a musical quality. "Not too bad," Ta said, surprised. Most Navi didn't speak to humans if they could avoid it. "I could help, if you want," she offered. "I'm heading to Section 12 anyway." Ta was going to Section 14. "That would be great, thanks." She took one of his boxes. Her hands were small but strong. "Anja," she said. "Ta." They walked in silence for a while. The lower decks were poorly lit. Pipes and wires hung from the ceiling. The walls were dirty metal, not like the clean, bright upper levels where the rich lived. "You're new here," Gia said. "Not a question." 3 weeks, Ta confirmed. "How could you tell?" "You're still polite to everyone," she said with a small smile. "Even to me." Before Tai could ask what she meant, a group of Navi turned the corner ahead of them. They were taller than Gia and wore better clothes. When they saw her, their faces changed. One of them made a sound like a hiss. Gia's body went stiff. She handed the box back to Tai quickly. "I should go another way," she said, her voice suddenly tight. One of the Navy said something in their language. The words sounded like music, but the tone was ugly. They were looking at Gia with disgust. "What's wrong?" Tai asked, confused. "Nothing," Gia said. "This happens all the time." She turned to walk away, but one of the Navi stepped in front of her. The tall Navi spoke in broken human language. "Why you talk to human? Not enough to be no family. Want to be dirty too." Ta frowned. "Hey, she was just helping me carry." The Navi ignored him. The group surrounded Gia, who kept her eyes down. They weren't touching her, but they were close enough that she couldn't walk away. "No family, no mate, no place," another one said, and they all made that bell-like laugh again. But it wasn't a happy sound now. Ta put down his boxes. "Leave her alone," he said firmly. Now they looked at him. Their large eyes blinked slowly. "Human defend no family. Not know our ways." "I know when someone's being bullied," Ta said. "And I don't like it." The tallest Navi stepped closer to Ta. "Human ways. Always think no better." For a moment, Tai thought there might be a fight. But Gia spoke up, her voice stronger than before. "Please, this isn't his problem. I'll go." The Navi looked at her, then at Ta. Finally, they stepped back. "Yes, Go to your dirty work. No family. They walked away, their backs straight and proud. Jia let out a breath. You shouldn't have done that. What was that about? Tai asked. It's complicated. Jia looked around nervously. I should go. At least let me thank you for the help, Ta said. Maybe some tea in the market tomorrow. Jia looked surprised. You want to be seen with me? Why wouldn't I? She studied his face. You really are new here, she said finally. Tea would be nice. I finish work at 16 station time. I'll be at Moy's tea stall, Ta said. Jia nodded and walked away quickly, disappearing around a corner. The next day, Tai was surprised when Jia actually showed up. He had half expected her to avoid him after what had happened. Moy's tea stall was a small place on level 35. Not too fancy, not too dirty. The owner was a four-armed alien who made tea from 100 different worlds. What will you have? Tai asked as they sat at a small table. Star Blossom, please, Jia told the owner. Then to Tai, it's like your jasmine tea. They sat in silence until the tea came. Jia wrapped her small hands around the cup like she was cold. So, Ta said finally, want to tell me why those Navi were so rude to you? Jia sighed. It's simple. Really. I'm an orphan. I have no family line. For Navy, family is everything. Your status, your job, your future, all come from your family line. And you don't have one. No. I was found as a baby, left at a cross-species care center. No one knows who my parents were. She took a sip of her tea. A Navi with no family line is worthless. Ta frowned. That's terrible. Jia shrugged. It's our way. Each species has its rules. What brought you to New Busan? Ta let her change the subject. I wanted to see the stars. Earth is nice, but crowded. Here, I can make my own way. They talked about simple things after that. Ta told her about Earth. Jia told him about the station and gave him tips about which traders were honest and which would cheat him. Over the next few weeks, they met for tea regularly. Ta learned that Jia was smart and knew more about the station's systems than anyone. She fixed things others couldn't. But because she was a no family, she got the worst jobs and lowest pay. One day, Tai arrived at Moy's to find Jia looking worried. What's wrong? He asked. The joining season begins next week, she said quietly. What's that? It's when Navi choose mates. She looked down at her tea. It happens once every 3 years. All unbonded adult Navy go through changes. Our bodies prepare for bonding. Oh, Ta said, understanding. Like a mating season. Jia nodded, her cheeks turning a darker silver. Yes, but no one will choose me. No family line, remember. I'll have to lock myself away until it passes. That sounds lonely, Ta said. It is. The biological need to bond is strong. Being alone during joining season is. She trailed off. Some no-family Navy go mad from it. Tai reached across the table and took her hand. Her skin was warm and felt like soft silk. Can't you join with someone who's not Navi? Jia looked up, surprised. Cross-species joining is rare, but possible. But who would want to join with me? I bring no status, no family connections. Without thinking, Ta said, I would. The words hung in the air between them. Jia's large eyes widened even more. You don't know what you're saying, she whispered. Joining is serious. It creates a bond. Mental, emotional. Ta didn't let go of her hand. We're friends, aren't we? I don't want you to suffer if I can help. Jia stared at him. If you join with a no-family Navi, the others will treat you badly too. Ta smiled. They already ignore me, so what's the difference? For the first time since he met her, Jia laughed. A sound like silver bells, but warm and real. You humans are so strange, she said. But I should warn you. There are things about me even I don't understand. Like what? Jia looked around to make sure no one was listening. Sometimes I know things I shouldn't. I feel people's emotions. I can make machines work when they shouldn't. The other Navis say I'm defective, but I think I'm different for a reason. Tai squeezed her hand. We're all different for a reason. So, is that a yes? Will you let me help you through this joining season? Jia took a deep breath. Yes, she said finally. But remember I warned you. There are secrets about me. Secrets even I don't know yet. Word spread quickly through the station. A human trader had agreed to join with a no-family Navi. It was unheard of. When Tai opened his market stall the next day, he noticed the stares. Some aliens looked curious. Others seemed disgusted. You've made quite a splash, Han said from his plant stand. The old man shook his head. Mixing with alien matters never ends well. It's just helping a friend, Ta said. Han snorted. Joining isn't just anything to the Navi. You're in over your head, boy. Maybe Han was right. Ta knew very little about what joining really meant. That evening, he went to Ju's quarters on level 42. Her home was small, just one room with a sleeping area, a tiny kitchen, and a table. But everything was spotlessly clean. Thank you for coming, Jia said, her voice softer than usual. She seemed nervous. I should explain more about joining before you decide for sure. Tai sat at her small table. I'm listening. Jia placed 2 cups of a sweet-smelling drink between them. Joining forms a bond. Not just physical, but mental. We will feel each other, sense emotions, sometimes even thoughts. Like telepathy? Tai asked. Similar, but more like sharing. Jia touched her cup gently. It's not supposed to work well between species. The connection should be weak with a human. Should be. Jia looked up at him. I told you I'm different. I've always felt things more strongly than other Navi. I can sense emotions already, without joining. Tad remembered her warning. And you think our bond might be stronger than normal? She nodded. It's just a feeling. I don't know for sure. Is it dangerous? Not dangerous, just intimate. Her cheeks darkened to a deeper silver. Are you sure you want this? The other Navi already see you differently. They'll treat you like they treat me. Tai reached across the table and took her hand. I've never cared much about what others think. Jia smiled. Joining takes time. The full bond forms over 7 days. We need to be near each other during that time. I can close my stall for a week, Ta said. When do we start? The joining begins tomorrow night. You should bring whatever you need here. The next day, Ta packed a small bag and told Han he would be gone for a week. The old man gave him a knowing look but said nothing. When Tai arrived at Joe's quarters that evening, something had changed. The lights were dimmer, and the air smelled sweet, like flowers. Jia looked different too. Her silver skin had a soft glow, and her large eyes seemed to shine from within. You're beautiful, Ta said without thinking. Jia smiled shyly. It's the beginning of the change. My body is preparing for joining. She had prepared a special meal with foods from both their worlds. As they ate, Jia explained more about her life. I was raised in a cross-species care center until I was 10. Then I was sent to a Navi education center. The other children were cruel. No one wanted to be friends with a no family. That must have been lonely, Ta said. It was, but it made me strong. She put down her fork. The strangest part was that I was good at things I shouldn't have been. Navi are not naturally good with machines, but I could fix anything, even as a child. I could feel how things worked. Like a special talent. The teachers called it a defect. They said it proved I had bad blood. Jia's voice was flat, but I knew it was more than that. I could feel what others felt too. Their anger, their fear, their disgust when they looked at me. After dinner, Jia led Ta to a small table where she had placed a shallow bowl filled with clear liquid. A single flower floated in it, white with silver edges. This is how joining begins, she explained. We both touched the water and the joining flower while focusing on each other. They sat on opposite sides of the table. Jia reached out her hands, palms up. Place your hands on mine, she said. Tai placed his hands on hers. Her skin was warm and smooth. Now we both touched the water with one finger, while keeping our hands connected. Together, they reached into the bowl. The moment Tai's finger touched the water, a strange feeling washed over him. It was like a warm wave flowing from Jia's hands into his, then spreading through his body. The flower in the water began to glow with a soft blue light. Jia gasped. What's wrong? Tai asked. The flower, she whispered. It's not supposed to glow that brightly. The connection between us is already stronger than it should be. That night, Ta slept on a small mat on Jia's floor. His dreams were vivid and strange, stars and distant worlds he had never seen. When he woke, he found Jia watching him. You felt it too? She asked. Ta nodded. I saw places, stars. Was that from you? I think so. The bond is forming faster than it should. She looked worried. I felt your dreams too. Earth's oceans, mountains, things I've never seen. Over the next 3 days, the bond grew stronger. Tai could feel Jia's emotions as if they were his own. When she was happy, he felt warm inside. When she was sad, he felt a heaviness in his chest. On the 4th day, something new happened. Tai was helping Jia cook dinner when a sharp pain shot through his head. He saw a flash of a white room, bright lights, and felt a deep fear. Tai dropped the plate he was holding. It shattered on the floor. What's wrong? Jia asked, rushing to his side. I saw something, Ta said, his voice shaking. A room. White walls. There were people in white clothes. I was afraid. Jia's face went pale. That's not possible. That wasn't a dream. That was a memory, Tai asked. I think so, but not one I remember. She sat down heavily. Sometimes I have flashes like that. I thought they were just dreams. That night, there was a knock at Jia's door. When she opened it, an older female Navy stood there. She was taller than Jia, with deeper silver skin lined with age. Her eyes widened when she saw Ta. So it's true, she said in perfect human language. You've joined with a human. Who are you? Jia asked. My name is Duri. The older Navi looked around nervously. May I come in? It's not safe to talk in the open. Jia hesitated, then stepped aside. Duri entered and closed the door quickly. You should not have done this, she said, looking at both of them. The bond between you is visible to any Navi. It glows brightly. What do you mean visible? Tai asked. Navi can see the energy of the joining bond. Yours is unusually strong. Duri turned to Jia. You are not what you think you are, child. Jia went very still. What do you mean? Your parents did not abandon you. They hid you. Duri's voice was low and urgent. I worked with them. They were scientists. My parents. Jia whispered. You knew my parents. Duri nodded. They were brilliant. Too brilliant. They discovered things our leaders wanted to use as weapons. Your parents refused. What does this have to do with Jia? Tai asked. Duri looked at him with her large eyes. Everything. Jia is not a regular Navi. She is something else. Something more. Something more. Jia repeated. The bond you share should not be possible between a Navi and a human. It's too strong. Duri reached out and touched Jia's face gently. Your parents altered you, child. They gave you gifts to keep you safe. Altered me. How? Jia's voice trembled. I cannot tell you more. It's too dangerous. Duri moved to the door. But now that you've bonded, they will come for you. The council has sensed your bond. They fear what you might become. Who will come for us? Tai asked. Those who would use Jia's abilities as a weapon. Duri opened the door. You must complete the joining quickly. Then go to the old research station in the outer belt. There's an AI there named Sue. It will tell you what you need to know. Wait, Jia called. Were my parents? Are they? One still lives, Duri said softly, working in secret to protect you. After Duri left, Jia and Tai sat in silence for a long time. What do we do now? Ta finally asked. Jia took his hands in hers. We complete the joining. Then we find out the truth. That night, as they slept, Tai was pulled into another of Jia's memories. This time, he saw a man and woman with silver skin. They were bent over a crib, their faces worried. The woman was crying. She'll be safer if no one knows who she is, the man said. But she'll be alone, the woman replied. Better alone than used as a weapon, the man said. Her human genes will keep her safe until she's ready. Human genes. Ta woke with a start. He looked at Jia, sleeping peacefully beside him. Who was she really? And what would happen when they found out? The next morning, Tai told Jia about his dream. I saw your parents. Your father said something about you having human genes. Jia stared at him. That's not possible. Navy and humans can't have children together. Maybe that's why you're different, Ta said. Maybe that's why our bond is so strong. They had no time to talk more. Ta's small tablet beeped with a message from Han. Station guards looking for you. Stay away from market. We need to leave, Ta said, showing Jia the message. Duri was right. They're looking for us. Jia nodded. The joining isn't complete, but our bond is strong enough. We can leave now. Ta had saved some money from his trading. It was enough to rent a small ship. He knew how to fly it. All Earth children learned basic piloting. They packed quickly and took the service tunnels to the lower docks. These docks were used for maintenance ships, not passenger vessels. No one stopped them. A small two-person ship was waiting. It was old but looked well kept. Where did you get this? Jia asked. Han helped, Ta said. He may talk tough, but he has a good heart. They boarded the ship and left the station. Ta set a course for the outer asteroid belt, where Duri said the old research station was located. As they flew, Jia's head suddenly snapped up. Ship coming, she said, following us. I can feel the mines aboard. Ta checked the sensors. Nothing showed. Are you sure? The sensors don't see anything. They're there, Jia insisted. 3 Navi. Their thoughts are angry, focused. Ta believed her. He changed course, flying the small ship toward a field of space debris. Can you still feel them? Jia nodded, still following. They know where we're going. Ta flew into the debris field. Large chunks of metal and rock floated around them. It was dangerous, but it might hide them. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped. Now they show up, Ta said. A ship had appeared behind them, larger than theirs. Attention human vessel, a voice said over the communication system. This is Captain Mun of Navi Security. Return to New Busan Station immediately. The female Navy aboard is dangerous and unstable. They're lying, Jia said. Don't answer. Ta nodded and pushed the ship faster. The debris field was thick here. The larger ship would have trouble following. I can help, Jia said. She put her hands on the ship's control panel. Her eyes closed. Ta felt a strange surge through their bond. The ship's engines hummed louder. They were moving faster now, faster than this old ship should be able to go. How are you doing that? Ta asked. I don't know, Jia said, her voice strained. I can feel the ship, like it's part of me. They shot through the debris field. The Navi ship tried to follow, but had to move slower. Soon it was just a small dot on their sensors. After 6 hours of flight, they reached the outer belt. Hundreds of asteroids circled slowly. Most were just rocks, but some had been mined or built upon. How do we find the research station? Tai asked. Jia pointed to a medium-sized asteroid near the edge of the belt. There. I can feel it. Feel it. There's something there. Something that knows me. Jia's voice was distant, like she was listening to something Tai couldn't hear. They landed on the asteroid. There was a small docking area that looked long abandoned. Thick doors had been built into the rock face, but they were closed tight. How do we get in? Tai asked. Jia walked to a small panel beside the doors. She placed her hand on it. Nothing happened at first. Then, the panel glowed with a soft blue light, the same color as the joining flower had glowed. The heavy doors began to slide open slowly. Stale air rushed out. No one has been here for many years, Jia said. They entered a dark hallway. As they walked, lights flickered on ahead of them. The place seemed to be waking up at their presence. The hallway opened into a large round room. Screens covered the walls, all dark and silent. In the center of the room was a round platform. As Jia stepped into the room, the screen suddenly came to life. A soft blue glow filled the space. A voice spoke, gentle and female. Genetic pattern recognized. Welcome home, Jia. Who are you? Jia asked, her voice trembling. I am Su, the artificial intelligence created to protect and guide you, the voice said. You have returned earlier than expected. Your bond is incomplete. You know about our bond? Tai asked. Yes, human Tai, Su replied. I have been monitoring you since you met Jia. The bond you share is what Jia's parents hoped for. My parents, Jia whispered. Duri said one is still alive. Yes. Your mother, Yun, continues her work. Your father died protecting you when you were 3 years old. Tears filled Jia's eyes. What am I? Why did they hide me? The largest screen showed an image of 2 Na'vi, a man and woman in white lab coats. The same faces from Ta's dream. Your parents were genetic researchers, Su explained. They discovered an ancient species that lived in this system long before any of the current races. This species had powerful mental abilities. They could bond with technology, read minds, and even move objects with thought alone. What happened to them? Tai asked. They evolved beyond physical form, but they left their genetic material in certain places. Your parents found this material. The screen changed to show laboratory images, test tubes, complex machines, and finally, a baby, Jia. The Na'vi High Council wanted to use this discovery to create weapons, Su continued. Your parents refused. Instead, they created you, a child with both Na'vi and ancient genes, but they added human genes as well to stabilize the combination. Human genes. Jia looked at Ta. That's why our bond is so strong. I'm part human. Only a small part, Su said, but enough. Humans have unique brain patterns that can adapt to and support the ancient mental abilities. Your parents knew that someday you would need to bond with a human to fully activate your potential. Activate? Tai asked. What do you mean? Before Su could answer, an alarm sounded. A screen showed a Na'vi ship landing at the dock. They found us, Jia said. How many? Tai asked. Jia closed her eyes. 5 mines, Captain Mun and 4 others, all armed. Su's voice remained calm. The facility has defenses, but they have been inactive for many years. I cannot guarantee they will function. What do we do? Tai asked. Complete the bond, Su said. A full joining will unlock Jia's abilities. It is what her parents designed her for. How? We need more time, Jia said. Stand on the central platform. Both of you, Su instructed. They did as told. The platform began to glow with the same blue light. A gentle humming filled the air. Your minds are already connected, Su said. Now you must connect your full selves. Share everything. No barriers. No fears. Tay reached out and took Jia's hands. I'm not afraid, he said. I am, Jia whispered. What if I'm not what my parents hoped? What if I'm just a failed experiment? You're not an experiment to me, Ta said. You're Jia, and I think I'm falling in love with you. The blue light grew brighter, surrounding them. Open your minds fully to each other, Su urged. The Navy are entering the facility. We have little time. Ta looked into Jia's large, silver-flecked eyes. He thought of everything he was, his childhood on Earth, his dreams of the stars, his life as a trader, and his growing feelings for Jia. Jia did the same. Ta felt her memories flood into him, her lonely childhood, the pain of rejection, her secret pride in her unusual abilities, and her fear of what she might become. The blue light pulsed. Ta felt a sudden rush of energy between them. Jia gasped. Her eyes began to glow with inner light. It's happening, Su said. The bond is completing. In that moment, Ta heard footsteps in the hallway. The Navy had found them. Captain Mun's voice called out, "Stop what you are doing," by order of the Navy High Council. But it was too late. The blue light flashed brilliantly, then sank into both their bodies. Jia's eyes were now shining like stars. She turned toward the hallway entrance just as 5 Navy in uniform burst into the room, weapons raised. "Stay where you are," Captain Mun ordered. Jia didn't move, but the weapons in the Navy officers' hands suddenly grew hot. They dropped them with cries of pain. "How did she do that?" one officer gasped. Jia's voice was calm but different somehow, deeper, more confident. "You should not have followed us, Captain Mun." "You are coming with us," Mun said, his voice shaking slightly. "You are Navy property." "No," Jia said simply. "I am not property. I am something new." She raised her hand. All 5 Navy froze in place, unable to move. Tai could feel Jia's power through their bond. It was vast, like an ocean, and it was growing. Captain Mun and his officers stood frozen. They could only move their eyes, which were wide with fear. "Jia," Ta said softly, "what are you going to do with them?" Jia looked at Ta. Through their bond, he could feel her struggle. Part of her wanted to hurt these Navy who had hunted them, but another part, a stronger part, knew that wasn't right. "I won't harm them," she said finally. "But they need to understand." She walked closer to Captain Mun. "I'm going to show you the truth," she said. "About me. About what your council did to my parents." Mun couldn't speak, but his eyes showed his fear. Jia placed her hand on his forehead. "Don't be afraid," she said. "This won't hurt." Through their bond, Tai could feel what Jia was doing. She was sharing memories, not just hers, but memories stored in the facility's computers. Memories of her parents' work, of the council's demands, of her birth and hiding. When she removed her hand, Mun gasped. She had released him from her mental hold. You are telling the truth," he said, his voice shaking. "The council lied to us. They said you were dangerous, unstable, that you would destroy our people. And now?" Jia asked. "Now I see they feared you because you represent change." Mun looked at the other officers, still frozen. "Our society is rigid, stuck in old ways. You are something new, something that could force us to change." Jia released the other officers. They didn't run or try to fight. They just stared at her with wonder and confusion. "What will you do now?" Mun asked. "First, I need to find my mother," Jia said. "Then we need to tell our people the truth. All of it. The council will try to stop you," Mun warned. "I know, but I won't hide anymore." Jia's voice was firm. "Will you help us?" Mun hesitated, then nodded. "I serve the Navy people, not the council. If the council has lied, the people should know." Su's voice spoke from the room's speakers. "There is a message coming in, from New Busan Station." A screen lit up, showing Duri's face. She looked worried. "Jia, Ta, can you hear me?" "We hear you," Jia said. "The council knows you've completed the bond. They've sent more ships." Duri's voice was urgent. "But that's not all. Your mother has been arrested. They're holding her on the Na'vi homeworld." My mother. Jiz's voice cracked. She's been on New Busan all this time. Yes, she's been watching over you from a distance, working as a cleaner in the lower levels. Duri's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to tell you so many times, but it was too dangerous. Tai felt Jiz's pain through their bond. Then suddenly, he felt something else, a fierce determination. We're going to the Navi homeworld, Jia said. That's exactly what they want, Mun warned. They'll be waiting for you. Good, Jia said. It's time they met me properly. The journey to the Navi homeworld took 3 days. Mun and 2 of his officers went with them. The other 2 returned to New Busan to help Duri. During the journey, Jiz's powers grew stronger. She could move objects without touching them. She could read thoughts from far away. And through their bond, Ta could share these abilities. It's strange, Jia said as they sat together in the ship's small common room. I can feel so much power, but it doesn't make me want to use it to hurt anyone. That's your human side, Ta said with a smile. Maybe, Jia said, or maybe it's just who I am. Tai took her hand. Su said your parents added human genes to stabilize the ancient DNA. Why humans? Why not another species? I've been thinking about that, Jia said. Humans are different from other species, not stronger or smarter, but more flexible. Flexible. Your minds adapt. You feel deeply. You connect easily. Jia squeezed his hand. Look at you. You befriended a strange alien when everyone else avoided me. You joined with me when no one else would. That's humanity's greatest strength, your ability to connect, to empathize. I just did what felt right, Ta said. Exactly. Jia smiled. That's what makes humans special. When they reached the Navi homeworld, 3 large ships were waiting for them. A stern voice ordered them to dock at a specific port. It's a trap, Mun said. I know, Jia replied, but we'll go anyway. Ta looked at her. Do you have a plan? Yes. Jia's eyes sparkled. I'm going to tell the truth, to everyone. They docked as ordered. When they stepped out of their ship, 20 armed Navi were waiting. Behind them stood 5 older Navi in formal robes, the High Council. Jia, child of no family, one council member said, you will come with us. The human and the traitors will be held until we decide their fate. Jia stepped forward. Ta could feel her gathering her power. No, she said simply. That's not how this will work. The council member frowned. You have no choice. I have every choice, Jia said. Her voice carried strangely, seeming to fill the whole dock. And so do all Navi. She raised her hands. The armed Navy suddenly put down their weapons. They couldn't help themselves. What are you doing? The council member demanded. Connecting, Jia said, like my human side taught me. Her eyes began to glow. Ta felt a massive surge of energy through their bond. Jia was reaching out, not just to the Navi in the dock, but to all Navi on the planet. I'm sharing the truth, she said. All of it, my parents' work. The council's lies. The way our society rejects those without family status. The council members tried to back away, but they couldn't move. Stop this at once, one shouted. It's too late, Jia said. Look around you. The dock was filling with Navi. They came running from all directions. Workers, officials, everyday citizens. Their eyes all had the same glow as Jia's. They can feel what I feel, Jia explained to Ta. They know what I know. No more secrets. No more lies. One of the new arrivals pushed through the crowd. An older female Navi in simple clothes, her eyes fixed on Jia. Mother, Jia whispered. The woman nodded, tears streaming down her face. My daughter, my beautiful daughter. They ran to each other. As they embraced, Ta felt Jia's joy pour through their bond. You did it, Yun said, holding Jia's face in her hands. You became what we hoped. Not a weapon, but a bridge. A bridge? Jia asked. between past and future, between species, between minds. Yun looked at Ta. And you found your human, just as we hoped. The council members were surrounded now by ordinary Na'vi. The glow was fading from everyone's eyes, but the knowledge Jia had shared remained. What happens now? Tai asked. Change, Jia said. Real change. In the days that followed, the Na'vi society began to transform. The old family status system was questioned. The council was replaced by elected representatives, and Jia was asked to lead a new scientific group to study the ancient species' knowledge, not for weapons, but for connection. Will you stay? Jia asked Ta one evening as they stood on a balcony, watching the 3 moons of the Na'vi world rise. Do you want me to? He asked. More than anything, she said. But I know you miss Earth, your home. Ta pulled her close. Home isn't a place, it's where you belong. And I belong with you. Through their bond, Jia could feel the truth of his words, just as he could feel her love for him. We'll visit Earth, she promised, and New Busan. We'll go wherever we want. Together. I'd like that, Ta said. I want to show you Earth's oceans and mountains, all the things you saw in my dreams. And I'll show you the stars, Jia said. There's so much out there we could explore. What about your work here? Tai asked. Jia smiled. My mother can lead the research. I've decided to do something else. What? Remember the Cross-Species Care Center where I grew up? There are children there, orphans from many worlds, who have no one, no family. You want to help them, Ta said, feeling her thoughts. I want us to help them, Jia corrected. I want to create a place where it doesn't matter what species you are or who your family was, a place where everyone belongs. A home, Ta said. Yes, a home. Jia leaned her head against his chest, and humans will be welcome, especially humans like you, like me. Humans who see past differences, who connect rather than fear. Jia looked up at him. That's the real secret the ancient species knew. It's not mental powers that make a species great. It's the ability to connect, to love, to belong together despite differences. Is that humanity's greatest strength? Tai asked. It's the universe's greatest strength, Jia said. And thanks to you, I finally found it in myself too. As the moons rose higher, they stood together, connected not just by their bond, but by something even more powerful, the simple, universal need to be seen, to be known, and to be loved for exactly who they were.